Takes a chunk there from PYL. He's going to try and farm up. Death Sentence does connect, and Last Boy goes in. That's an early flash away from PYL. Sia's going to connect. There's that 2-second stun. Imp is going to throw out
really early
arrow.
teleports.
That's double teleport.
Yeah, they're going to go in now and up. PYL's getting a move back. Tyrus moving in. First blood to TSM. Not gets enough. Godby exhausted, going to be chased down. LGD though, they've already lost one. Last one. He's going to go in. 2 kills for TSM, but Imp gets the trade kill. How much can he get back? Wild Turtle now, maybe the next one.
Not over yet. We do see him trying to chase. Wild Turtle going to get some heal from that Harvester of Sorrows. 2-1 in the first fight. That's Jin's head. And the rest of RNG saying, yes, Mr. Uzi, we will do our best. Let's see if MLXG can deliver. Zaza and G2 are 3-1 up in kills. They've got a 500 gold lead. And Hyanan has been the recipient of both of those Lantern kills. If you look at the item differences as well, Perks has got himself the Luden's Echo, and here comes MLXG. He's still got that Rift Herald, but Ming's Death Sentence goes wide. The box goes down, Uzi jumps in. Here comes MLXG. Defensive flashes. Yankos has already killed Ming. Now Yankos, he's turning it back around. Defensive flash from Uzi. Teleport's coming down. Comes Perks. Not just to find out. Perks blows up RNG, and G2 win the fight.
It ends up being a 3-0 in favor of G2. The shield from Jenna to try and win the trades.
Flash available for Goom, remember, he got caught out again. Is it going to be enough damage? Yes, it is, absolutely. Goom will do one more shot, he will go down. Watch managed to pick him off to make it an even trade. The kill, of course, went to Watch in there, but the save had to come down. He did miss out on a lot of CS in that top lane.
Goom had some great dodges right there. He was able to juke enough. He was gonna live, but Watch kicks over going to secure his death and the trade.
Not over yet. Yeah, Watch is still in there. We see that Loveling is sitting around the side. He's going to face check in.
Flanking in.
Watch gets the vision. Teleport comes around. The slow on Watch. In comes going around the side.
Standard lanes, Imp and PYL, they've done it before. It's not very often, but they're just going to play straight up 2v2 and try and honestly just outclass TSM's bottom.
A lot of respect from both Wild Turtle and Last Boy, but you can see Wild Turtle takes a chunk there from PYL. He's going to try and farm up. Death Sentence does connect, and Last Boy goes in. That's an early flash away from PYL. Sia's going to connect. There's that 2-second stun. Imp is going to throw out
really early
arrow.
teleports.
That's double teleport.
Yeah, they're going to go in now and up. PYL's getting a move back. Tyrus moving in. First blood to TSM. Not gets enough. Godby exhausted, going to be chased down. LGD though, they've already lost one. Last one. He's going to go in. 2 kills for TSM, but Imp gets the trade kill. How much can he get back? Wild Turtle now, maybe the next one.
Not over yet. We do see him trying to chase. Wild Turtle going to get some heal from that Harvester of Sorrows. 2-1 in the first fight. That's Jin's head. And the rest of RNG saying, yes, Mr. Uzi, we will do our best. Let's see if MLXG can deliver. Zaza and G2 are 3-1 up in kills. They've got a 500 gold lead. And Hyanan has been the recipient of both of those Lantern kills. If you look at the item differences as well, Perks has got himself the Luden's Echo, and here comes MLXG. He's still got that Rift Herald, but Ming's Death Sentence goes wide. The box goes down, Uzi jumps in. Here comes MLXG. Defensive flashes. Yankos has already killed Ming. Now Yankos, he's turning it back around. Defensive flash from Uzi. Teleport's coming down. Comes Perks. Not just to find out. Perks blows up RNG, and G2 win the fight.
It ends up being a 3-0 in favor of G2. The shield from Jenna to try and win the trades.
Flash available for Goom, remember, he got caught out again. Is it going to be enough damage? Yes, it is, absolutely. Goom will do one more shot, he will go down. Watch managed to pick him off to make it an even trade. The kill, of course, went to Watch in there, but the save had to come down. He did miss out on a lot of CS in that top lane.
Goom had some great dodges right there. He was able to juke enough. He was gonna live, but Watch kicks over going to secure his death and the trade.
Not over yet. Yeah, Watch is still in there. We see that Loveling is sitting around the side. He's going to face check in.
Flanking in.
Watch gets the vision. Teleport comes around. The slow on Watch. In comes going around the side.
Standard lanes, Imp and PYL, they've done it before. It's not very often, but they're just going to play straight up 2v2 and try and honestly just outclass TSM's bottom.
A lot of respect from both Wild Turtle and Last Boy, but you can see Wild Turtle takes a chunk there from PYL. He's going to try and farm up. Death Sentence does connect, and Last Boy goes in. That's an early flash away from PYL. Sia's going to connect. There's that 2-second stun. Imp is going to throw out
Really early
arrow.
teleports.
That's double teleport.
Yeah, they're going to go in now. Now PYL's getting a move back. Tyrus moving in. First blood to TSM. Mod gets enough. Godby exhausted, going to be chased down. LGD though, they've already lost one. Last one. He's going to go in. 2 kills for TSM, but Imp gets the trade kill.
How much can he get back?
Wild Turtle now, maybe the next one.
Not over yet.
Hello. Friends. I don't know. No one's really Roman. But why do people use the friends Roman countryman thing when whatever? I'm clearly in a mood or a headspace or something. For now it's just me today. I think that we will see how this goes for a bit. We are doing yeah. They don't. People use that are probably Monty. I don't know. I've heard people use it as a joke. It makes no sense. But it's okay. But I think what we will do is we will be doing, for now, just kind of a me style VOD review, at least for a bit, on T1. So typically when I am VOD reviewing on my own, and I don't have someone give me the rundown, what I do is I start looking at match histories. T1 VOD review. Wow. Sorry, I'm bringing the energy today, guys. It's me. I'm here. I'm alert and awake and ready to go. So what I'll do is I'll look for trends, right? Or things that might be interesting based on draft that I want to see how they execute. So one thing I've heard, for example... So it looks like we've got a lot of Kennen and Gnar. So that's one. So a lot of ranged top. So that's interesting. Just in terms of like how the laning phase should go. So we want to make sure that we're getting probably an extreme of ranged top, and which would be like Jace, and then a Kennen or Gnar game, as well as a melee game, to get that kind of spectrum. And then we've got... So there's a big difference in swing and how you will play mid with Azir versus a champion like Ryze, Aurelia, LeBlanc. Let's look at the rosters to see if there are any significant changes. Differences in Gumi, Yusi versus Teddy. So we want to make sure we're looking at that. Let's go. Well, hello. So looking at Gumi Yusi versus Teddy, I think it's something that we want to do. So immediately let's just look cursorily. Gumi Yusi versus Teddy. We have some... With Teddy we have what looks to be a lot of Doesn't look too different in terms of their champ pools. Maybe one thing is that there's almost no Varus with Teddy. Yeah, it looks like there isn't any Varus with Teddy. So that's something. Maybe we specifically look at Varus. It looks like Carrier also didn't play that much Thresh with Gumayusi either. So that's interesting. They also play Thresh almost only with like Aphelios, Jinx. Basically only Aphelios and Jinx. They don't play it with Varus or anything like that. Varus is... So maybe this is a difference in how they're executing the 2v2 with Varus is more to enable carrier, so we can examine that as a hypothesis. There's a Yumi game, so that's interesting. As for jungle picks, you want to see what kind of variety you're going to get. It looks like it's mostly ganking junglers. Might be interesting to see Jarvan. We already sort of watched this one, it looks like, when we did the Gen G VOD review. It's not a lot of... Maybe, is it worth looking at a Cuz VOD, do you think? I just realized Cuz did play. Do you want to look at like a Cuz game to start then? Cuz game with like Viego. It's a lot of variables to look at. They fired their coaches for the Africa match? Interesting. So let's start with a Cuz game. I don't know if we want to do versus Gen G or Nongshim. So we have wins with Cuz. It looks like Cuz also played Olaf Diana versus Volibear Lee Sin, so that's interesting. Looking at the Cuz games, it looks like... Let's see. Yeah, let's do a Gen G one. Let's see, towards the end, what were their jungle picks like? Let's do Viego then. Or Volibear. Well, we'll do a Volibear, Jace. So I think this can be interesting. Though I don't know if I want to watch like a Ziggs game with Guma UC, because it's not something that they seem to play a lot recently. Did they ban it a lot? They did a little versus DK. Yeah, we'll just start with we'll just start with this because Volibear Chase's TF I think is like interesting to me, and we'll get a sense for how they were executing this with Cuz before the jungle sub. Thank you, Opera GX. Looking at pick ban order. So this was Zig's first pick that they were looking for. This was a time when I think people didn't really know how to play around Ziggs. Kind of difficult. But also, if you're playing like Ziggs and you want to do this kind of 1-3-1 setup, it's useful. The reason why I started with this comp is because I feel like the win con is like really straightforward. You should be looking for top dive. You have very clear TF roam timers that should be effective for you. This mid lane is a bit volatile, but you have Volibear pressure early. Have potentially guys stun setup. I think the way this mid lane is played, right? You're either, if TF is just using cards to get the prio on the wave, LeBlanc can trade HP on you and still get prio. So comes a lot down to the skill of a LeBlanc player. Is this a classic LCK top jungle mid bot support picked in that order draft? You live for this shit, man. This is the shit you live for right now. LeBlanc band 2. Varus Galio. This is the Kelsey versus Chat Steel Deathmatch review. Yes. So, my favorite LCK draft habit is just to draft like this. It's the best. So yes, I think the reason why I think this is a good game to start with is just this composition is really easy to execute. This is the type of comp that was really, really popular for a lot of the splits. A lot of teams at least tried to play this type of TF comp globally, so this will give us a sense, at least early in the season, where the general overall level of T1 was. And then it'll be a good starting point. It also is a Cuz VOD, so we can look at how Cuz was playing before he was replaced, and our thoughts on if he can come back for Worlds. It wasn't just the J6 combo that I'm interested in, it's just like the entire game is very... The entire comp is just straightforward in terms of what everyone's job is, where exactly your roam timers are in the early game. You either look to play off of the third wave, or you look to play off of the ninth wave, or both. Both junglers are happy to 2v2 early. Mid lane matchup goes a certain way. Or mid lane matchup is volatile, but has a huge impact on the map. And Jay should be able to set up a win con for a top dive. In terms of level 1s, Towards level 1s, there's maybe a window for T1 to invade. But I doubt they take it because teams have done nothing but disappoint me on level 1s. Level 1s are a lie. Told by Riot's propaganda machine. Actually, I feel like Riot... this is a good question. Is Riot pro or against level 1s? Because I feel like Riot's development team probably has an opinion on whether or not they think level 1 play is healthy for the game. I remember there was a season where they had like this cage setup. Well, they implemented the cage setup. I think they're probably post level 1 just for the health of the online quality of the game. Because a lot of people loaded later than others when they were just playing solo queue. So my guess is that they're not the biggest fans of like sophisticated level 1 strategy or play. But you never know. Let's see. Because Riot tends to like things that look the way that they do in pro play, that they do in solo queue, which is basically nothing. It's nothing, Riot Games, but that's okay. We do get level 1 ward from Gen G. Yeah, so BDD is slowly getting away from control here. I'm actually curious. So I wasn't really paying attention, and they just showed this entire lane phase, basically. Cage of the doors in the middle of the jungle. Do you mean the doors in the middle of base? That's a bit different. The reasoning for that was a bit different, and it doesn't really affect that, so I'm not quite sure what you mean. There is indeed often level 1 Fiestas, but I think Riot would prefer for you to... A lot of the... So in solo queue level 1s, and this has nothing to do with the game, so I'm just gonna pause. Solo queue level 1s are more about like catching the enemy team off guard than about having actual logic. Because a lot of times I saw people climb just playing champions that have a terrible level 1 and then pinging their team to invade anyway. So there's not a lot of thought process into level 1s in solo queue, so... Is bone plating? It depends on the matchup. If you're looking for all-in trades, or you're expecting to get all-in traded on, bone plating can be really good and mitigate more damage. I think there's a lot of poke champs, especially in this game. Like, I'm looking across the board, there's so much poke on both sides. So, if you're assessing in the context of the game that we're watching, then maybe bone plating is not good. In a lot of these situations. But, Yeah, Varus Galio should actually control this lane, so this is a little bit more level 1, so this is a little bit more... Genji just gave... Life just gave Aftershock like that? I don't think this trade was worth... Especially since Keria still has his. But bone plating is gone. Like, if this was an Aftershock trade, it's worth. Okay, now Aftershock is down, so that's good. But I think in general, Leona shouldn't try to control this bush. It should not go well for him. So, I think Ruler and Life set up on that the initial level 1 of the lane well. It looks like in general Genji are playing these matchups decently. This is an earlier... I think this is like the broken Viego patch, but Jace should still win the lane. Stacking move well. Can probably... Like, even when Viego is broken with, like, the longer range Q, right? You're still in a situation where you're winning the lane as Jace. And you have a lot of more windows to auto-trade. So nothing too surprising. We're getting a 4-wave crash on bot, which is nice. And expected in a 6 matchup. So this is the 2v2 shit I'm talking about, guys. Look, Genji's doing it. They're doing it, guys. But now we know where Clit is. There's actually not a play that can be made off of it, because TF just cleared the wave and is backing. So this is really good back timer for Faker. He did have to burn Flash, though. So what's the wave state mid? I thought it looked like he had crashed and cleared. Oh, but it looks like BDD has a freeze. I can't tell, though. I'd have to see the lane itself. So BDD having a freeze here is really nice, because there's not realistically super good value buy that's going to change the state of the matchup on this timing. Boots are nice, though. Boots are really nice. And Kana didn't effectively punish this matchup enough for there to be a dive angle top. Okay, this is not a freezes to slow push. What has this Lee Sin done that Zac couldn't have done? True. I mean, either way, he's probably not going to get invaded, so it's all good. Ooh, this is scary. Almost. So Faker's in a really good spot in this lane, because he did get it back off. It shouldn't change the matchup a lot, but once Faker comes back... So there are two ways that they could have played this. It looks like LeBlanc tried to freeze based on the movement of the character on the minimap. They do get the freeze off. You can force TF ports, so that's really nice. Otherwise, this window, you can... Probably looking for like a little bit of greed, but if you're gonna look for a little bit of greed and try to crash on the wave that's coming out of base now, then you want Lee Sin hover for sure. And by a little bit of greed, I mean like conserving for cannon crash. It's also really slow for LeBlanc to crash. So she probably can't crash before the cannon wave coming in anyway. Thank you. At least on these items. So I think it's not high value for Clid to actually hover mid here. So the fact that Cuz is able to do this, right? And get Krugs plus waste time for the jungle is nice. I don't think Rascal should realistically be diveable. There's not enough wave build up. Kana hasn't harassed on them that well. But theoretically, you can think, like, if Faker chooses to TP top with, like, a wave mid coming out of base, then this is actually absolutely a dive window. So, them setting up or posturing top to try to threaten Rascal is actually a pretty good play. To make sure that Clit isn't hovering mid. There's a lot of people. I feel like less hipster now that I see all these people praising Allah. It's makes me feel awkward. I'm kidding. I'm glad that people also acknowledge that he's good. I feel like sometimes I try to highlight a player and never know what else is talking about them. It's just really random. Anyway. So, Peter showed me his rankings before he went on the show. So, I'm sorry that I didn't increase the ranking of Iwandi for you. Like when your favorite indie band gets popular. It's not even that, it's just sometimes I do feel like I'm alone in what the game that I'm watching because I'm just like, no, this player is good, and then I get people just saying how good Tarzan is, and no one was talking about Allah during the gauntlet run, at least that I could tell, and I was very weird. It felt very weird, but I guess now people are, so that's cool. Maybe VOD reviews people went back and said, look, this guy is good. It's like, okay, cool, good stuff. Why is there, I guess that is a valid playlist title. Do we want some energy here? Do we want some caffeine pop? Abstract lo-fi, chill out lounge? Let's do chill out lounge. That's not energy at all. Okay, so we managed to get 5 minutes into the first VOD at 40 minutes. This is what a Kelsey VOD review is normally like, guys. I have to, usually I'm a little bit faster when I have a guest, but probably in LLA their name is actually pronounced Ale and not Allah, but never know. Scout at 14th was indeed questionable. Paula. Got it. That makes sense. Alright, meanwhile we're getting this crab up. Are they? Nah, Gen G, my dudes. So Roscoe forced to TP top. Where does he TP? I feel like I stopped paying attention to this game. So we were talking about the dive angle that was or wasn't. The fact that we aren't hovering mid here. We do have Galio hovering mid, so this is a good adaptation from life. I feel like Genji are just so much better in this game than I remember seeing them being in the VOD review. They're actually doing relatively smart things in the early game. Because we still haven't gotten a back timer from BDD. This is a tendency that I've seen with BDD, as an aside, is just his really greedy back timers. Okay, now we're punishing Rascal. So this is really good. Finally, Kana is punishing Rascal, and we have Volibear pathing up top. So this is, as soon as this happens, by the way, I would actually just tell my top laner to scream bloody murder. Like, scream like he's dying that this gank has to happen. Because a lot of junglers will just kind of do these camps and ignore the dive timer on the 530 wave. You could do, like, a Wolves or Gromp. This wave is also not super well prepped for a dive. Like, you'd want to be able to stall it longer. But considering where he is, you could dive on this, especially given Faker's posturing here. The fact that there's no wave mid, you'd be willing to give a wave just to walk top here. I could do. I'd do it. But the problem is that the trade-off, if Rascal just backs off on the wave, it isn't too good. You're denying like one wave. You're also probably not going to lose too much because you can TP back mid. You can get the cannon. So yeah, BDD having super greedy back, not backing until last chapter is wild. Absolutely insane. As LeBlanc, like, you want to have more frequent back timers because you want to punish certain wave states more. You want to force, especially if you're going TP, you want to force like a TF to use TP for lane in your matchup. So you want to look to back when you can get like an incremental item advantage and just punish. Force TP out. Play super volatile, because now the fact that TF is just like casually playing the lane and manages to come back with Mercs versus... This is also like disaster. You never want to have the enemy mid back on a good timer from Mercs as like a first buy, so TF did back like relatively early. I think it's a byproduct of the early gank, so that was good. But the fact that he is able to come back with Mercs when you have Lost Chapter as your only back timer is bad. He did get a little bit of a lane advantage for it though. Up at least a wave. In terms of CS values. He also TP'd back mid and figured didn't have to use CP. And this is a window where you can set up a play off of TF. So far we aren't seeing good play with Cuz and Faker to set up robe timer as well. Like, Lee Sin went mid. I think you're flipping it a bit if you're going mid Volibear, but the 2v2 is very winnable. You just gold guard. And you can, like, get someone very low. Almost one-shot them with Volibear level 3. Here we go. So this is a little late, but don't mind the timer here. Faker, once again, in LCK, mid lane is a self-sufficient role that doesn't need no jungler. So we get our own timers, thank you very much. We do not play 2v2 in order to 3-man top. Instead, Genji does this egregious thing where they decide to blue buff handoff when Kana's stacking wave top. That is just like a lack of communication with your top laner whatsoever. What is going on? You either go to Rascal and are just like, my dude, what do you think is gonna happen to you here? Or you go to Clit and you're just like, why do you want him to die? And then that's pretty much it. That's the conversation. My dude indeed died for the wave. He did manage to get the cannon XP, so that's worth. He only missed the 3 ranged. So again, like, Kana could have set this up a bit better. Especially since it's not like you don't know your cannon timers. It's not like this was a situation where Rascal was really, really low and it was a capitalization play. Like the previous play that I was talking about before where Rascal just got super low, that would have been like a capitalization play where you're just screaming, we're diving on this wave, it's not a good wave, but it's a guaranteed kill, right? You're thinking about stuff like that. You're also thinking about in that situation, if you do dive him there, he's just going to TP back, so he's probably not going to lose that much. So I see why they didn't go for it, like overall, like risk reward. If he backs off the wave, it's whatever. If he TP's back, it's whatever. But that situation, right, you probably could have set it up better as Kana to crash on the, what we say, the 12th wave at that point. So yeah. Yeah, if it's diving on like a small wave with full HP, then you shouldn't be able to do it, right? So for me, that's more Kana setting it up better because it should be a dive window, and also jungle setting up mid better because you can send like 3 people top, and you need to be in a position where you're denying more. Okay, now we need to go back and look at like what bot lane is doing. But that is what I would refer to as a C9 dive. We talked about C9 dives in the TL VOD review, so I don't know why I'm just calling dives that are not set up well C9 dives, but it feels nice. It feels good. Oh yeah, he should expect the dive. Plus, his mid laner and jungle have the audacity to hand off blue on this window. It's like, nah. Nah. Because at the very least, right, looking at this, this is not a blue buff that you're going to lose. Blue buff is not that insane or high value for you because LeBlanc already has Lost Chapter. So if you want to go top first, get like some Krugs, not bad. And then path back down, because if you go Krugs, path back down, I can also see how he'd want to not be bot right now, right? Though, like I think you just don't do blue this window. Like, you can just even wait for Grump and Wolves or something along those lines. Because as soon as LeBlanc leaves mid, then TF has a free timer to go top. It's like the TLDR. Because you should do your bot camps first because Rift is spawning. So what should happen now is bot should be thinking about crashing this wave. This wave that's under the tower on the top side. But on the bot lane, right? And then backing on this wave and getting a good timer for support to go top. So I like that based on what I'm seeing on my minimap, like Gumayusi and Keria are stalling out the wave to prevent that scenario from being easy. Because there's way less of an advantage that you get from like crashing this wave and roaming as support for top than you would the other. So it's nice that Gumayusi is able to just kind of kill that play a bit more. Because now supports are basically roaming same time. Galio will be there a little bit first, but considering how long it takes you to pull and do Herald, you're not getting as much for it. And, so TF doesn't have ulti anymore. I think this is, if you actually want to just pull Rift on this timing, TF should just consider TPing back mid. You know LeBlanc has no... Because it's TPing mostly for tempo to ensure that you get crash off, you can walk in first. Because you don't want to face check like a LeBlanc, Lisa, and Diego. Galio. And you don't have TF port. And LeBlanc will get this wave in first, whereas you know LeBlanc has no TP, so you can use your TP to invest in this if you want. And just guarantee that the play happens. Wow, Rascal really just did that on my screen. I mean, good acknowledgement by T1, but Rascal really just did that on my screen. So I have difficulty identifying good early herald transitions. Pretty much. Let me see. So I actually think C9 is not bad. I've been generally disappointed in how people are setting up Rift globally. This is something that I looked at a lot last year, so I don't have an answer off the top of my head, because now I already have basically a framework that I use, and if I see anything interesting or that makes me reconsider my framework, then I would apply it, but it's not something that I've watched a lot. I've mostly just thought a lot of approaches to Rift this year have been bad. I think it's because right now we're in a phase where people are, to an extent, overvaluing Rift, and there are a few reasons for that. One is they realize dragons suck. Two is that T2s have like gold buff now. So people are even playing for like second rifts more. Let's see. Why are these playlists so short? Why is there a Valorant playlist? What's on the Valorant playlist on the free music website? It's kind of weird. Don't know if I want that. Let's just do abstract lo-fi, because why not? But as a result, you just see people like transitioning like this, on weird wave states, not setting up for jungle well, and then going top. I don't know what this is, just like really sloppy rift forces. But I actually think teams like C9 are not bad to look at for like rift. Specifically, I don't recommend most LPL teams at all, ever, for this. I actually thought that RNG used to play Rifts really well 2 years ago, where they would just trade for plates on Uzi bot. One series that I would recommend, actually let me pull it up, from LPL to look at if you specifically want to see the impact of timings on Rift Herald, and just really think critically about when these teams rotate the first game and how they adapt to the series, then I think I would recommend looking at the series if you can think about it like that. It was an LNG series. It wasn't this one, was it? I think it was EDG LNG, I want to say. Or was it WE LNG? I don't know why the summer season pick ban match history is so behind. That's useless to me. Sorry, we're kind of going on tangent. I need to be forced to be on task to do these VOD reviews properly. It was the regular season series with EDG. I would recommend, like, the last regular season series on patch 11.14. Just pay attention to how LNG and EDG are changing their support in bot timers to set up Rift better, and the trade-off that Aphelios is able to get. I think that that's one of the most interesting series that I've seen recently about how teams are playing Rift. Let's see. I still like, okay, I'm not going to play it again, but basically this Rift came down to the fact that Rascal was pushing this wave when he knew everyone was on Rift, and he just assumed they wouldn't drop him for it, so they were kind of like flipping on top wave, and Gen G weren't able to rotate to support him, and then he just face tracks the bush like that. Like, what is that versus Volibear? I don't understand. But I think like Faker, if they really wanted to prio Rift setup, Faker could have TP'd. For example, because there's no rule that says that Rascal has to be here, right? Rascal has to be here alone on his wave. Like, Lee Sin could be there. LeBlanc's getting the wave first, so LeBlanc can hover, technically wandering through side. Galio was a little bit ahead of Leona, so like there could be a lot of people to help Rascal there. And then this guy does like same thing or something. Kana just runs at Clid. But this is nice kind of setup from Gen G to have to be in this try and to look for this bait, but there's no universe for Clid where Kana does that, no? He's crazy. You just EQ over the wall into the try. But anyway, T1 have secured the Rift. So, not a lot of... So, I talked about how this comp has like a lot of built-in straightforward plays that you can identify early, and I feel like there's just not a lot of effort that was made around those. So, both in top lane volatility and in the way jungle is playing with mid. I'll try to keep it... Oh, I was gonna say I'll try to keep one VOD per hour, and when it hits the 5 a.m. mark, we'll move to the next one, but it's already 5 a.m. Sorry. I'm a little bit weird like that. So at this point, after seeing like the top timers, I want to see mostly how they play once the turrets are down. Because I remember TF playing like, T1 playing TF comps well, so I want to see how they play once T1s are down. Get it? T1's T1. Ha! Actually, this might be a good place to start, 2 minutes before the strike spawn. To see how they're playing the map at this point, using Dragon as a pivot point. Ziggs and D just ulting Ruler on cooldown. So I saw someone in chat saying that they think that T1 play more around top with Guma UC. If they play around top like this, then that could be an explanation as to why Guma UC has not been working out for them. No BM. But that was also my hypothesis, just looking at the drafts, right? Because it was much more like Varus with carry on roaming champs versus you see like Aphelios, Thresh. No Varus whatsoever. played by Teddy. So I entirely missed this because I, once again, was not talking about what's on my screen. This is going to be the most scuffed VOD review. I'm sorry for those of you who are watching the YouTube VOD. Alright, so... this is interesting, because they're playing for Force on mid off of this Rift, so was Rift expiring? Not really. If Rift is not expiring here, then I think this is just like really weird timer to drop Rift. Can save it at least one more minute. Because I would think right now you're playing for mid-pro to kind of shift topsides to let Faker slow push this wave. He doesn't necessarily want a fast push. But instead they just all shift mid here. TF porting into jungle. I don't know what that was. Just to make sure that LeBlanc can't get a flank off. Maybe? But I don't... like, realistically, LeBlanc, it'll take at least 15-20 seconds for her to move from here. And then, at this point, this play is already over, so I don't really know what the support angle is. If his jungler was, like, already walking into topside, then this was a port angle. LeBlanc did touch the wave, which means that this is a really nice wave to just hold, like, hold one here, and then, yeah, okay, he's not immediately hitting it. He's kind of, he's kind of slow pushing it as he red cards it. That's fine. If you're gonna do that, though, you should stay one more wave, and Leona should be on your side, but everyone else was backing, so that's not gonna happen. And then they didn't even use that, like, extra window to say, okay, we're okay if we give a wave top, we're gonna rotate now instead of dragging super proactively. They just kind of hit one wave and... let's see. So you either fast push this and then push another, or you just hold this wave for a bit, and then wait until like 50 seconds and push. It's not too early. Like, this timer is actually not too bad. And you can't afford to stay at this point and push one more. But then once you've got that right, the rest of your team's coming out of base. You want to... we don't have TF ulti because we already used it on that really weird rotation. But this would be a point where, you know, everyone's coming out of base, you're playing like super aggressively for vision, and you have threat of TF port. You do have TF TP, so you can still like kind of stand in jungle. So let me see timers on base. So Varus technically first here. Volibear and Jace really behind. So I think at this point you kind of have to contest through side. Because you're late to mid. Especially if they're all showing on this vision. I like how Genji are posturing here, right? They're, like, they know Varus can just be left solo on the wave. Faker actually just TP'd mid like that. And now Genji are giving all of their vision control that they had. So they get Galio taunt here. Now Galio no Aftershock. BDD is already in this position. There's no universe, right, where Genji don't rotate first here. They should be able to get it. Can Life just walk in with BDD? Clids over the wall. Interesting. Do definitely want the vision control as LeBlanc. No instruct pixel yet? Okay, there we go. So now you probably want LeBlanc to like walk into a try or something. This is also a fine position up here. Main thing is that LeBlanc shouldn't be trying to... This was nice from Faker. As soon as he gets ulti, he gets behind BDD and make sure that, like, all he's doing here is, like, trying to mark BDD so that the rest of his team can walk up and look for poke. This is this is how I expect League of Legends to be played in 2031, where everyone is just standing and looking at each other and slowly poking, and the absolute absurd level of range escalation that has occurred. This is so ridiculous to watch. Because the J6 poke is gonna win the war of attrition, right? So you need engage or flank angle or something. What is this? So BDD just getting like this kind of... So once TF uses port, right? What we want from T1 is marking so that these guys can walk up and poke. They're already really low. So at this point, this almost looks like a juicy Volibear angle. But we can play for a little bit more poke, right? So kind of just like whip CQ like that. Carrier has no engage, I think is maybe the biggest problem. How did Carrier get so low? I wasn't even paying attention. Carrier is low all the way back here. But why? Oh. Carrier was just like vibing and tanking the Drake. Cool. So during this TF play port is when they got low. Now Galio no flash. I think you just have to hit the Drake at this point. Because Genji's threat is not... No, you don't want to, because you want the poke war of attrition if you're T1. Maybe you just get... midwave and keep poking. Yeah, I think you just have to play like super patient and keep poking, because look at the state of top wave as well. I don't think pulling this is the play. It's nice because Ruler is like really low mana. But you look for one more round of poke. Genji at this point is losing more creeps. Just because both of these sideways crashed. But you get one more round of poke, you know, ruler has no mana, and then you pull, I think, is the best way to look at that at that point. You're not going to engage. Either way, it's a more favorable situation for T1 to stall out that Drake. I think the way Gen G played it was definitely worse. It doesn't matter if T1 has no ults or no, and they or no mana. They win if they get a round of poke in and stall out the Drake. They definitely win because the problem is that Gen G weren't positioned such that they could get flanks. BDD was completely zoned. Varus had no mana, and Kana and Gumayusi just win the poke fight. So if Gen G wanted to contest that, they had to have better LeBlanc positioning. Because TF used port like super early, used port kind of early. They were going to one-shot Galio with poke, but Galio had stopwatch. If they do that, then they pull win the drag. It's not about like an all-in fight. It's about how your setup and position is, such that your composition can get advantages. I don't like how Carrier managed to get so fucking low for no reason. That was ridiculous. Just tanking Drake. But they can definitely look for one shot with like chaining the poke and then getting if Leona can engage first. You one shot with poke. You have Jace EQ and Ziggs QR. That is a one shot with poke. You throw your combo, that guy's dead. I'm sorry that you do not understand how these abilities function. That is a one shot in my book. Regular gaming terms. What is regular gaming's terms? You're dropping a full combo, that guy's dead. In a regular game, you one shot with a single ability. It's an interesting game. So you one shot with a single ability in other games. Okay. That just doesn't happen in League of Legends. For the most part, unless you're Omega Monster fed with like 15 kills. Sorry, I have a little... Omega Monster fed, yep. Okay, we can move on to the next game. I think I got a little bit of the gist of what I want the baseline to be, or what the baseline looks like. So let's look at when they have owner. And let's look at more... First, something that's somewhat similar, right? In style, so like we're looking at Jace matchup with Roam Timer. So something like this is fine. Yeah, we'll see if there's like what the immediate significant difference is. And then we'll move on to some more recent thoughts. And look at Teddy versus Gumayusi. I think the way that I think it makes sense to use one shot is that that's something that you can legit set up and plan as a team, where it's like, we're gonna use these abilities and that guy's dead, right? Yes, people have already pointed out they changed coaches. The problem is if you change coach, you're not going to see immediate results the next week unless it's just your team was in such a bad mental state with the previous coaches that they just wanted a change of atmosphere, and that change of atmosphere had immediate results. But with the problems that I was looking at with like no coordination and set play setup, then you're not going to see a lot of immediate results with 1 week. You'll see them be able to do like maybe one thing better, and that'll be the thing that they'll have worked on that week. If the mood is just so terrible, though, then yes, you'll see a difference. But usually that only happens when the coaches themselves are really astro bad. When owners started was first game with new coaches, but that also means that owner is a change as well. It's not just the coach, right? It's also honor being a change. Is it honor, owner? I would say that a single player change is usually more likely to have immediate impact than having a coaching staff change, because you need to learn a new system. So you'll see more results within like 2-3 weeks. Especially what I've heard about LCK coaches is that a lot of times they do fuck all, so. That's true. Nocturne, Zen, and that's, I'm told that's not all LCK coaches, but the fact that people have really overrated LCK coaches in the history of League of Legends is really wild when you actually talk about, talk to players and the people who worked with coaches. There were rumors they did not agree. Sometimes when people say, oh, we didn't agree, they mean this guy was useless and didn't do anything, so we fired him. You gotta read between the lines. I'm not saying that's what happened, but sometimes that's the line between reading that is done. And sometimes when a coach says they didn't play the way I want them to, that means he doesn't know what he wants. He can't make the argument of how they should play well enough to get their buy-in, is usually what that means, which means that he probably wants them to play in a way that doesn't make sense. Depends on the situation, though. Like, sometimes there'll legit be cases where the coach is correct and the players are just completely ignoring him just because they've had so many bad coaches in the past, but usually that's kind of a conditioned response to having bad coaches. Most cases, if you have a good logic around what you want, and it makes sense for the group of players that are there, it's easy to at least have a conversation to get their buy-in. If, for example, you want them to play a certain way that those players just are not going to be able to, or doesn't suit their strengths, and that's another separate issue. And my personal philosophy is, if you're trying to get a team if trying to force a team to play a way that goes against the natural strengths of the dynamic of players that you have, then you're probably not going to have a lot of success. Yeah, there's a real tough coaches. I mean, that your interpretation is probably more what my assumption is, and I'm just saying like you can talk a little bit about that as to whether or not the coaches, and this is all speculation, but I just find it very surprising that a coach would try to convince players to play a way that would actually suit them and would not be able to get them to agree to it, if that makes sense. Unless, I mean, I guess some of these players, like Faker, for example, maybe he's someone that has had a lot of coaches that just kind of let him go his own way, and so he's just very stubborn and refuses any kind of thought process. But I would assume that you'd at least get some buy-in from like the rest of your teammates, right? Also, the fact that they replaced the Cuz is interesting as well. Because that would indicate maybe there's some friction with Cuz and Faker too. But again, this is all speculation, and I don't necessarily think that this is accurate, but who knows. I will say, I don't think you know what Grabs does, based on that statement. I have more information on that. Okay. He is good at protecting his players in socials, but that's not all he does. You're indicating that he's like a mental health coach, which is not true. I think a lot of times, like for example, I know Grab's one thing is that he goes out of his way to make sure that he's the one who is blamed. Which means that he'll probably downplay like a lot of his accomplishments or a lot of things that he does. But there's this idea, I think that's very common, that Grabs doesn't do anything, which I find very interesting, because I know for sure that that's not true. So, I will say from Coma, like, most observations that I have is that top laners play a certain way if you've been coached by Coma, and this is not just T1, this is all teams. Like, I refer to, like, Coma style top lane play as being map play as a top laner as being very like the interpretation of 131 being very I don't want to use the word hedging, but being what I would say just very kind of high risk, high reward in the terms of you play super aggro on one side and then you play hard for the other side. I think that that style of map play only works if you're also getting mid-prio, so it's really hard to get drafts where that style of coaching consistently works, where that style of map play consistently works. But most Coma's teams play like that, so that's like one footprint of stuff that he does. I've heard that Coma was way more collaborative with players than I think the narrative around him indicated. I think a lot of the reason why the narrative about Coma existed the way it did is just people didn't really know what coaches did at the time anyway. And that style of play worked just because I don't think people had a good framework for how to respond to it. If you can't also get mid-prio at the same time and your timing of waves, then it's really easy to just punish a top laner who plays like a psychopath on side. The responsibility of coach to bring a good drafting game. I mean, yes, but that's definitely not the only thing that they did. Like, you can have coaches who suck at draft and are still really, really good coaches. They just need analysts and coaches around them to compensate for that. So judging a coach only on draft is really troll, because that's like maybe 10% of what a coach does. I'm not talking about in lane what you play. Okay, so when I'm not talking about lane dominant styles. Okay, so we gotta what I'm talking about, okay, just to be clear, and this is not a T1 VOD review stream anymore. I don't know what this is. Sorry, guys. To be clear, when I'm talking about Coma style, like top lane play, I'm talking about mid-game map setup. So let's say this turret's dead. This turret's dead. This turret's dead. Something like this. I don't know. And then your mid is played like this. So kind of like no matter, you need basically 3 lanes to prio for this to work well. Because the problem is that if you have both of these guys showing in sides and then your mid also showing, then these guys will shift. They'll get a kill, and then maybe this guy will get this turret, right? So that's not bad. So this is actually pretty good. So this is overall like it seems like a decent trade, but the windows where this starts to be effective get lower, especially if you're factoring into objective control. You're factoring into like the actual pressure that this can have, especially if these guys can't rotate. Right? Because now you're able to definitely rotate for shift play or things like this. Whereas if you do get mid prio, right, you can have your midsection recall faster on the map, and then you don't even have to indicate, like you don't have to contest mid wave exactly. You can have support and jungle like go to certain sides. You can have support mat. You can have mid match. You can do a bunch of different things like and stall out this play completely, so that this guy just dies and doesn't get anything. Because you can have mid stall out this play and then these guys rotate and this guy just dies for no reason. So if you don't get mid prio, a lot of situations like this are really hard to play out. If you do get mid prio, right, then this kind of rotation from support and jungle either has to become a fast play, which is easy to outplay, and then these guys shift up and make sure that they get this, right? So the way that people have played around the map has changed and improved quite a bit. So that, and then also just like drafting and map states. So you'll almost never get the perfect scenario to make like this type of play work in mid game. But, for example, like when Huni was playing for T1 and he would int inside like this. There were a lot of windows where it was just bad. So. I don't know if that made sense, so it was a bad explanation. Yeah, it's less the objectives, it's more just like the rotation. So I can explain this better, sorry. I feel like that explanation was terrible, so I'm gonna explain it better. So if you're top laner, you're pushed up here, your mid's pushed up here. Theoretically, the way you can allocate resources, like if you're getting mid prio, wow, I'm really tired today, I'm sorry. If you're getting mid prio as this team, then what's going to happen is your jungle support bot are going to be able to shift into this side if you're trying to make a fast play here. Top laner has like option to outplay or do other things. If you don't get mid prio, what's going to happen is that these guys will rotate first, and you have a lot more options to stall out this top play single, and you can start push, and then you don't have to necessarily, you can leave this guy to push out this wave, and then even have like someone shift top, so that if these guys are shifting late, like let's say you can even send jungle here, right? And you can send support 80 to cover top, something like this. You get this kill, this guy is suddenly doing this, these guys are forced to respond probably to you. Like if they go here and try to stall this out, then you have more timer to push this wave. So a lot of this kind of 1-3-1 setup will function off of mid prio. If you don't have mid prio, I think it's a lot, you have to play a lot more intelligently about fog and when you're contesting these sides in order to drag these guys off, because a lot of it will come off of whether or not they can see you. If this guy is like pushing when this guy is fogging, you can assume this guy is hovering mid. So you have to play a lot safer on this side, but if as soon as you're showing in all 3 lanes, you're kind of giving up the game, right? The guesswork is gone. So that's why, in theory, you can play this way like super well, but it kind of requires you to be snowballed all 3 lanes. And I think that's why there was a misconception in that timing, in part, that you had to snowball the game in order to play a 1-3-1 setup. That is not true. You can play a 1-3-1 setup well without that, but you have to be smart about when you're showing in your lanes, when you're showing 2 lanes, 3 lanes, so that they don't have all the information and can't react perfectly, you know? So it's less about the fact that, oh, it's Google? Sorry, guys. I wasn't showing. Do I have to do this explanation again? I mean, it just, if people wanted to... Okay. My streams are definitely a train wreck. That's good. I think the TLDR is just the more information you can kind of conceal by playing your 1-3-1. People use the term like seesaw. Like a seesaw, the more likely it is to succeed, whereas like Coma will just basically throw, like Coma style map play in mid game is something I've noticed is, or what I refer to as it, is just you throw all of 3 of your cards on the table. Everyone knows where everyone is, and then if enemy team makes a trade play, then you aggressively posture for something else, which is usually only doable if you're winning all 3 lanes in mid game. So that's more that. I would say like playing the lane aggressively like isn't necessarily a Coma team hallmark, because I would say in general T1 games don't snowball that often, but they got away with doing this just because people didn't respond well to map play anyway. Okay. Damn one. Yay. Just making sure that it's actually showing up on my screen before I start talking about it. Okay. Brother Barrel. So I'm looking at this, and outside of mid, T1 should have Cryo in every lane. Okay, level 1. Why was Faker there? He just felt like solo getting a ward over the Raptor wall. Versus Lucian Gwen. That was over chase on both sides. You can kind of posture. You can hope that they make the assumption that Braum's there. Everyone recalling, Faker's gonna be late to this wave. Maybe he TPs? No, he's just staying with low HP. That's a blower. So I feel like in this lane, to play it really well, you have to be willing to do a lot of HP trades. Or Showmaker can just troll. Level 1. That happens. He's a genius. He saw the Matrix, man. I'm just a pleb. Faker played well the first wave with low HP, but Showmaker should never be in a position where he gets snared and auto-traded for free as Lucian into Rise. That should not be a free trade angle, so. That's why I said Showmaker trolled. Not sure if we finish this game by the end of the stream. Yeah, we'll try to focus on... So I like this from Demon. This kind of threat. You have to make a play on one side. The assumption will be it's probably going to be bot. So you're most likely not going to make a play on the orange side. So I think like T1 sort of expected this. I kind of want to see how fights are played this game. So first thing I want to look at was like the timers for top, which we're not going to see until 5:30 at this point. Because of what happened level 1. This is really nice for Aphelios if he can get it back here. But yeah, exactly. They should play so that Aphelios can back here. That was really nice. But I think it's also kind of trackable or expected because it's like, okay, if Aphelios gets it back here, it's really bad. Gets first back here, it's kind of bad for the lane state. So if I am T1, I'm gonna make a play now. My jungle should also be on this side. So I think that he could have just casually gotten the wave in and looked for a recall and gotten in quiver by anyway. It's whatever. So it was kind of a mistake from Ghost and Barrel to not read the situation and get a better back timer. And once again, Kana has not played the wave so that this is just a straightforward dive, but the dive play is a little bit better, right? We're crashing on the... We didn't necessarily crash on the optimal wave for this play, so Faker lost groups mid. Right, we're looking... Like, if we're making this play now on this rotation, it's really easy for Lucian to get the wave in and get a free back in a window, and you lose the full wave. If you had waited one more wave for this dive play, it wasn't even a situation where Khan was like low, so it was a capitalization play or anything. It was just kind of doomed. Or it was just kind of a fast rotation. So that's another, once again what we are referring to as a C9 dive. Dead. Dead. So let's talk about this Rift Herald, because why not? So this is like good wave timer for Nautilus to be able to be at this Rift first. We're gonna watch the replay again. So this should be, but he did not rotate yet. Because the wave got in bot like 7:30, that cannon wave, really nice timer for Nautilus to be here, like basically as Rift spawns. Because he's showing bot, he does eventually get the recall off. Braum is just rotating. Nah, I feel like this play is Barrel's fault. It's whatever. I choose to blame Barrel. Good. I like T1 capitalizing there though. Knowing that Barrel was still bought on that window. And if you're giving XP bot on Braum, it's whatever. Okay, well. So after Rift. This is a really weird fight. So I choose to blame Barrel for the fact that this should have gone a lot better for T1, right? Like, look, this guy's low. We're canceling most of the Lucian ulti. Nautilus engages, Braum shield's still up. Why is Owner over here? So Braum just dies. Why is Owner over here? Owner's like chasing Ornn. When Carrier played that well, and they should have been able to get a favorable fight. I expected T1 to win that. I'm really shocked. After Khan was zoned out, I expected T1 to win that. After Khan was zoned out and the Braum shield got most of the Lucian ult, I expected T1 to win that, so it's whatever. Off of that play, we have Jinx getting free plates, plus this top force because DK overextend their tempo, dropping Rift immediately, which that's not good. A good angle. You usually want to recoil, have a better setup for this. Drop it mid is probably going to be your highest value play in this game. Solution TP get cancelled. Solution hitting plates. Big spot. Warren TP. Well, we just saw on our screen how Warren TP got cancelled. I hate replays. And I hate 2x speed VOD reviews. Okay. Alright, so T1 running out on the map on right side now because they just took top. They pivoted hard into bot. And they aggressively contest vision on this side based off the fact that Aphelios was just showing top. This is all like pretty standard, good, decisive map play. I don't know if you have to invest JCP there. I think it's probably more worth to just get tower and shift into top side. It's definitely more worth to just get tower and shift into top side than to JCP for that Cloudrick. Because now you'd have full vision top side, you'd already have the TP, and you'd recall and you'd shift back bot and you'd play for bot T1 now. So yeah, I don't like that, but it's whatever. So now we have map set up by 2 lanes. Yeah, I'm mostly just looking at T1's map rotations to see if I like them better on Drake. The answer to Drake number 2 is no. So, there's that. The game's doomed if they play their map well, right? Again, they're forcing on mid instead of looking for a play side. So to me, that this situation, like if you look minimap in the replay, so T1 in a sense doing the same stuff. They're forcing mid off of top being like this instead of shifting into bot, which I would prefer. Because it's a lot easier for DK to make the collapse, whereas if you shift into bot here, you can stay up tempo. And recall and send someone top to stall out the Aphelios play. You already got the mid wave. Someone has to catch the mid wave, so that puts them behind. Then you're shifting bot. You get bot T1. Someone recalls and goes top to catch catch out the top play. And then you push out top wave all the way in time for Drake spawn. Yes, they are moving so fast. So now what should happen? We have Rise showing in bot wave. I don't like this. I feel like this window, Rise doesn't go back bot here. Just go top. Like, what's Ornn gonna do? Bonk a tower? Well, that's unfortunate. But if DK weren't behind, that would have been a good play. Let me see. So this force should have been better. So T1 are allocating all these numbers topside, getting full control, and Ornn is just using timer to try to make a fast movement. So that's okay. If they do this, they should just rotate down immediately instead of trying to work out topside. Then this play is better because you're forcing them to waste time shifting mid as opposed to fixing the top wave. Rise can maybe collapse and stall, but you have more of an opportunity as Ornn Aphelios to outplay Rise if he does that. Okay. So maybe that's a tendency that we can point to. Alright. I think after this we watch some playoffs games or some Gauntlet games, depending on... Or, I mean playoffs games, sorry, I'm trolling. Oofed. So this is also weird. They just hard pull Baron like this. When they win side lanes. I find that really bizarre. This is some BYG shit here, right here. Just have a 1-3-1 draft and force Baron without contesting side. Because you have top push all the way, you can shift bot there. I guess they were afraid of Baron pull. But theoretically, like, if you're grouped like this and Aphelios Orin gets flank on you, you just lose. You want Jace to be able to poke. You want Ryze to be able to split. Now DK also get the first mid wave. They engage on the Braum. Like, well, why wouldn't you set up bot if you have Jace TP? Instead, we're pulling Drake again. Very nice. How is this allowed? Because your comp advantage comes from Jace, Jinx, and Jace having range advantage, Ryze having side control. So this, like, incessant need to pull Baron is very weird to me. I guess Orin no ulti on that window. So that's not bad. Orin no ulti and DK didn't fix side waves, so this won't go as well. But hey, Khan got the steal, so... The way T1 has played mid-game Drake setups has been very weird, but that's okay. So things we're looking for next game. Let's do a... I want to do a Guma UC Varus game so that we can see Keria roam timer. And just keep tracking their mid-game stuff. And then we'll look at some Teddy games. Okay, we're all on the mid wave. This this dragon setup is really bad. I'm disappointed in Faker's rotations this game. I'm disappointed. Time to stand and look at each other at Dragon and 50-50 it again. That time Orin actually had ult. Just want to throw that out there. Orin actually had ult. Interesting Drake fight. Exactly. This is bad. I feel like this gameplay quality is bad. Mostly just because it's like, okay. There are so many more interesting things that you can do as, So Jinx gets his first wave, Jason's gonna get the bot wave, and DK feel the need to just pull Baron so that because they're off tempo, right? I understand that theoretically. But why is Jace rotating mid here instead of pushing another bot wave when he has TP still? And why are we allowing this? If he is rotating after this wave, why are we allowing the situation where DK get mid prio here on the next wave coming in? So not this wave, but this wave. We're investing a lot of these resources and we're not even able to contest wave because of our composition, right? So Con played this well. For sure. Should've, the problem is that Con played it well, but so did, our friend sorry. So did our friend, Viego. Owner? Like, Owner played this well, too. Because as soon as we get the Con engage, Owner engages onto these guys, so no one can capitalize off of Con's engage here. So, I would say that those two both played it well. If you play Jace lane phase the way Kana has played Jace lane phase, then yeah, no wonder you think Jace sucks. The other thing about Jace is, I would say that he has had... It's hard to have an opportunity like this, like they've specifically set up the scenario so that Jace poke is not as impactful, but even looking at how he played in this fight, like he did a lot of damage. He got poke off, force candy back. It's not too bad. I just think his rotation was bad, which is not Jace specific. Carrier gets in there, man. I respect that. This was not a well-played mid-game. I'm gonna say that. Specific issues that I would highlight in mid-game is just, in general, like how T1 are assessing sides when they have Rise. The scenarios that they're able to create using Jinx and Jace. As soon as Baron spawns, it just evolves into pulling Baron back and forth and running to... They're basically running to Drakes without setting them up as they spawn as well. It's very bizarre from both teams. Like, very bizarre gameplay on my screen. Yeah, I'm good to move on. I am definitely gonna move on from this one. Let's see, I said I wanted like a Guma Yusivara skin. Should we do this one? Maybe we should do one where they lose. This is like a Vara's Braum game though. Okay, so Teddy did play Varus. Not a lot of Varus games, actually. So maybe it's not as worth. Let's get some Kennen in. Kinda wanna see the Renekton as well. Is this comp even worth looking at though? Because it's like Ryze, Varus versus Graves. There's almost no dive-in other than Camille set. Let's just watch the early game. I just want to watch Keria. It's timers. But I feel like as that game goes on, it becomes less worthwhile to watch. I guess you could see... It would be more interesting to watch for HLE and how they're playing their poke comp, right? Stretch. I like the tier list, yeah. Opera GX. They lose this one, but I only want to watch the early game. Because I think as the game goes on, it's less interesting to see how they're playing their Kennen comp, their short range comp versus poke. It's more interesting to see from HLE perspective. But this is not an HLE VOD review. We already did that one. That one's in the books. Channeled my inner Mobar for some of them. What do you mean? This is the Renekton set game, which is very weird. Why? Why did I have to change this the quality? I know. I know, but I didn't get the type of game that I wanted from Gauntlet, so in the drafts. There's a lot of Teddy in the Gauntlet. Alright, here we go. Or the playoffs, whatever you want to call it. But we'll just quickly watch the early game. Brief overview. Brief overview, this draft sucks. That's what I'm saying. This draft is terrible. Anytime Graves gets picked into Nidalee, it's the end of the world. It's doomed. I changed the... I don't know. I don't know. It's... okay. I did it. I flipped it, and it's fine. Okay, Graves doing... wants Graves and Italy both generally want full clear. Baker can't play on this way, but he can play on the bounce back. Crashing Waves. I'm specifically watching this game for Carrier. Okay, so once I crash this wave in bot, I want to see... okay, Carrier was looking for back there. Good. There shouldn't be a lot of benefit out of hovering mid. They're just running back to towers so that they won't get their backs interrupted. But could have positioned better in the lane initially on first back look. Make sure that didn't happen. And Leona heading mid, but will be slightly later than Triss just because of where the position was. Ooh, does Carrier do a nice... yeah, he does. Nice! What a nice support player. Nice little mid lane freeze. And backbot. So, no room timer used for top. Kind of looking for a 4-minute back, but slightly delayed. 4-minute back into fighting on Renekton wave. I want to sort of compare what carry might look for in this game versus in games with Teddy. Now they should win lane. Is carry a... okay, make control. Somehow manages to be here before Vista. And when Boris rotates on this wave, there's no reason for them to go out and catch, so they can make this top play, because Varus fucked up and gave them a really long timer. No retreating pots. Okay, so not bad overall. We have Rift. How do they want to use that? They already rotated mid. That's... okay. I mean, he saw the angle. Wasn't the greatest. This is like kind of cheeky from Deft, I guess. It's just Deft backing bot there. That's definitely worth to take a lot of HP chunk until they recall. Especially on Renekton, you can just sustain off the wave really easily. But they set up a nice play, so there you go. Who is the 0-7 power spike? Okay, so overall not bad from Carrier. I feel like he's not looking for a ton of like off-tempo rooms or anything. So not too surprising. So we will just compare like the standard road timers he took this game to like Teddy games to see if they play differently around bot control. Sorry I'm yawning so much, guys. Okay. Whom are you see? Let us see some Teddy games. We're getting into it. What a tragedy. Hmm. Do we want to do like a NAR game? Hmm. Maybe we watch a Teddy Bars game. And a Teddy Jinx game, both with NAR. Let's see this. Okay, chat. Am I gonna screw myself over? Why is this being advertised on my screen? I'm terrified. Okay. We're gonna try to figure out. That was an ad, clearly targeted ad. I turn ads off, so sometimes I get interesting things like that. It was very terrifying. Okay. Well, alright. Viego first pick. Okay, so it looks like Nidalee Pryos kind of a thing. The NAR was picked specifically blind with Kennen up. They did ban Lucian and Jace already. At least LSB did. Aurelia also banned. Interactive banned, so yeah, Kennen, one of the more punishing things that you can pick then. And then this is a blind Silas with, I guess you've got Varus, Leon ult. It's not bad. NAR ult. So, I'm looking for Faker to kind of not give the 2v2 mid early. See how Varus play with Teddy around Leona runtimer. Probably from mid, but not until like 4 minutes. So similar window. It's not great, but you need support advantage if you want to play the skirmish at all. Which you shouldn't be able to. There isn't really a top window either. I don't like the options that they have. So probably the best option is going to be like a bot dive if they do that. So you can get prio mid, so maybe playing for bot dive is just the best, but you're not going to do that on first crash because Aphelios Thresh will win early. So kind of a chill game. Once again, mostly focused on watching Carria. So Ori gets... looks like 2-wave crashes mid. It's kind of weird. Versus Silas. But plays for ward, this is somewhat common. Problem is that it's just really easy for Silas to play this. Wow, this guy fucking inted on my screen. Okay. As I was saying, it's kind of hard for Faker to play on a wave, on third wave, if it's bouncing back out of Silas's tower, but then that guy just ran it. So, that's cool. I'm fine with that. Okay, so yeah, they are making bot-centric play. I would like it if they had played... So, Carrie's level 3 here. Nidalee coming out of base after pathing top. So Nidalee basically path top to deny a potential top dive opportunity that Kennen maybe could have tried to set up. It's not straightforward. But I guess technically on first waves, top is more volatile. Like I said, if you lay the Thresh would crash first, so we're just pathing top to get to a state where top prio might be more likely to happen, even though it feels like it should be more Kennen favored. Yeah, I don't think... Let me look at the top wave again. This is just not an angle where you should be able to get a crash, and you should take way too much HP damage from Kennen if you're doing this. But I guess this is the trade-off for jungle pathing up. Either that or the summit disrespect on my screen. Just run at him, Summit. Let's do it. He'll kill me. I don't care. So Nidalee usually recalls around. So this Nidalee then is pathing back bot at around 4 minutes when the 4-minute wave is coming in. So this should be an angle where you can stall out and play for this, but I think you don't play directly on this wave, right? I guess Blue Gun, it's too easy for him to clear. But Thresh feels kind of useless already with Leona 3. Especially if she has Aftershock here, she's able to keep it. Like, I don't know why she just kind of procced her Aftershock like that. It's really random. Because you can play a lot more aggressively on this wave if you have Leo Aftershock. I guess they felt that they had a very specific window because Viego would also recall and go bot, and they do have vision on that. It looks like... Let's see, who got these wards? So that's actually a lot of topside vision. See, the thing I don't like, looking at this again, the thing I don't really like about this play is... You know for sure Viego's already bought. It'll take him at least like 45 seconds to do these camps and even think about pathing up or recalling. So I guess the reason you're doing this is you're thinking if Viego matches, right, we're stronger anyway. Because we're Varus, Leona, Nidalee. So you want to bait the 3v3. Plus, you have no TPs from mid, so you know this should just be 3v3 bot. But Leona Blue Aftershock early. You're banking off of Viego not recalling, I guess, is the thing that I forgot to explicitly say, is that you're banking off of Viego not recalling, so if he comes to contest this, he's gonna have no items, but... They got super low. Jace does not win every lane. Jace loses to Aurelia, for example. Sorry, that was random. Sion should not be Jace in the current form. Okay, poke. Only if you're a bad Jace player. I... Alright. Well... That may have been like the... no, I guess we've seen other bot plays. It wasn't executed that well. Not playing for top, even though I feel like Summit is inting this lane. Camille, what you're doing is you're waiting for level 3 and then you're looking for like either support or mid roam timer to prevent them from diving you, and then you can actually play the lane out. Now though, with Camille passive being a much longer cooldown, I think it's doomed. Like Jace should just destroy. Okay, so we're finally getting a Leona timer from mid. So just anecdotally, based on the games that we saw, we're playing a lot more for bot already. He hinted, and we're not really getting cues. Wait for, oh, I didn't do a Fnatic tweet yet either. I'll have to do 2. I'm going 2x speed because I took forever on the first VOD, and now I'm I'm thinking about going a bit early because I have interviews starting at like 8 a.m. with coaches. I basically did 10 hours of coach interviews yesterday. It was fun. Sorry for the yawn. Interviews. Yay. But I do want to see the mid games for this game, and then a Teddy game with like Jinx or something, or Aphelios. Maybe a Aphelios Thresh game. Okay, now we're rotating top side. So I will say they played bot on like one rotation because there weren't other options in their composition, and especially considering how top went. Or top should go. But for the most part, like Carrier's roam timers have been good for other lanes. I like that they made the fast play top before transitioning into Rift, because Rift just becomes a byproduct of the play then, and the main goal is the play. But now they're kind of greeting tempo to the point where LSB can get a better trade. So you would just get the top play, you would recall and you'd stabilize bot, and then you'd rotate for Rift again, most likely. And then, like, you don't just lose bot T1 to Kennen for no reason. Losing bot to T1 to Kennen, it shouldn't be too impactful if you have Nidalee Varus. Thank you for the raid, Chronicler. This is my lonely T1 VOD review. It's Chad versus Kelsey deathmatch, pretty much. So they kind of agreed to tempo to take the second rift, but now that they've basically swung back for it by setting up this spot play, I want to go, because I was sort of criticizing them for saying, okay, we do this fast play and then we get rift, as opposed to we do this fast play, we rotate back bot, we get another timer and go top, because then Kennen doesn't get a free tower. But as soon as we're off of this, and we have rift, I don't like the mid force. Let me see. They burn flash. They do not. So engage feels weird because you get the mid wave anyway. Leona also uses ult when I feel like this is just not a realistic play. Maybe they get, I guess maybe they get cleansed and then it's worth. But regardless, Varus should get the mid wave at this point. But they're really ahead on the play. Silas showing top. They have Rift. Like, you always have to match in situations where the enemy team has Rift. Otherwise, you lose complete map control. That was a good counter position, but I also think LSB could have... well, they wouldn't be able to contest mid-pro, and shifting into bot side is hard, but they should have at least stopped from getting, like, the second turret. Or the second crash, I should say. But I don't mind how T1's playing the map overall this game. I think this is definitely a difference. So I want to see next strike. Also, setup here is interesting. Because they rotate here off of the midwave, but then as this next midwave is coming in, LSB advocate numbers, so they can actually get the midwave first in this case, but they lose top 2 for it. The nice thing is that LSB now can collapse. Like, I think it would make more sense to try to force on Navarez or something here, but they're forcing T1 out after T1 have already sort of secured the objective and are just looking for recalls. So yeah, they should have just forced on Varus earlier here. More likely for the play to go well. And the nice thing is that they zone... They always have the potential, even if they don't go immediately for that, to zone T1 off of Varus. Let's see what this is. They always have the potential to tone T1 from collapsing to help Varus, just because of the fact that they will get this midwave and have positional advantage. Thor shouldn't even stand in line. There's not much that T1 can do to help Varus if he tries to walk up to this wave. Like, Teddy doing this is really int. He assumes that they're all collapsing on his team, but even if he doesn't go for this wave, if LSB get the next wave coming in, which they should because they've zoned the rest of T1 off, T1 just want their recalls, then they can just dive him. That was nice from Kennen. I don't know why they were on this midwave though. Like, this wave is in, there's no way you're gonna siege this turret with Faker Nidalee, right? You're just getting the wave in and backing out. And then probably shifting into bot side. Like, them overextending mid like this is really weird. But this seems to be just like a permanent symptom of T1, is just this weird obsession with overforcing mid right now. They do this a lot. I would say that this is probably just like symptomatic of T1, is that they will have shift plays available and are just forcing on mid T1 like crazy people. Okay. Wait, how did... I want to see how LSB got positional advantage here. On the next strike. Because T1 should come out of base, shift down, Varus recalled again? What? What did he buy? Boots? I feel like that's just not worth. Unless they're straight up giving this strike, which is fine. But it does not look like they are straight up giving the strike. They are posturing around it. What? is happening? So now I was trying to cheat the wave, but you already did. You push one here. LSB already shifting into bot side. Kind of weird that he tried to push this extra wave. Forest does get this mid wave though, but it's not like they can trade anything meaningful for getting this mid wave here. They can't really contest vision, they can't do anything. Nar's dead. So I feel like his death is just not worth. Because it's like, yay, we got the mid wave. To do what with it? So the point of getting the mid wave, kids, if you're not aware, is to get some kind of rotational advantage and achieve something off of numbers, right? Just mindlessly contesting every mid wave is what we Veteran referred to as Venn syndrome. Even if the timing is bad or you can't get anything off it. So yes, Nar dying there got the mid wave, but that's it. I think as soon as Nar dies here, as T1, you just want to shift stop full on. And acknowledge that you're giving the Drake. So they retook bot side after LSB did, which means they should be behind on contesting the stop wave. Yeah, LSB's just up tempo. But they didn't hit bot wave at all, so technically T1... Nah. T1's still behind. They could have been ahead by deciding to give Drake after Kana died, but they did not. And now LSB are mindlessly chasing for people with their prio instead of... Let's see, so what theoretically can LSB do when figure shows on the stop wave, right? Well, they get mid wave. They can now rotate to completely retake bot side. So we do see them there, but then they're getting dragged around the map when they should have advantage. So, sorry, it's not an LSB VOD review. Easy, I will make Haiji great again. I can't imagine UZI and the Shy on the same team. That sounds so bad. Actually, and ironically sounds miserable. What? Testing next midwave as it comes in. Well, just watch 2017 Spring and you can see UCI without forwards. UCI played Varus and he played for catching midwave low and playing 131. I wrote an article about how I think RNG changed the way that 131 was played in 2017 at that Worlds. So I do think we're seeing signs of better T1 map play, but I also think, in general, stuff like this there's no reason for them all to just like catch midwave here and then let's see, let's go back to this situation. How did this situation arise? So they got top wave win all the way. Kennen showing here. So normally you would say rotate bot here. The fact that Baron's up and you have Aphelios means you can. Can't really, but they can just like, can get this midway first. Because Kennen is going to show top. We're also showing bot though. But it's Varus, so pretty much whenever you want, you can get midway first as long as numbers are even. They need someone, preferably Carrier, to mark this flank from Kennen. Like, they know probably he's in topside, so I think Carrier should just walk up. And that gives a lot of space for Teddy and closer to poke. Or owner, sorry, wow, I'm trolling. So I do want time to do one more, which means that when I see them devolving into the tendency of group mid and pull Baron on spawn, we'll move on. I feel like I was told... Well, we already watched a lot of regional finals games for HLE. And I wanted to do the Jinx Brown game, I think, versus Damwon. So we'll do this one. This is probably going to be the last one we do, so that I can prepare for my interviews. Weird way to spell concept of X. Okay. Well, already, Damwon picking Kassadin into Azir Kennen is good. Kinda can force mid. No Varus option. Interesting they're just picking Jinx into Kalista like this. So they're going like full scaling here. They just want to play the front to back comp. That's all they want, my friends. But now we can judge Ghost and Barrel's ability to play. So the problem is if you're playing like Kassadin, you can't consistently... Kassadin and Diana, you're not going to consistently set up like a bot dive win con very well. So when you pick a lane like this, it is actually not straightforward to punish Jinx Braum unless they just walk up on the lane and lose a ton of HP for no reason. Especially since you're also playing Renekton into Kennen, so Kennen should have TP advantage too. Definitely have skirmish power with, you can use rel rotation. That would be the way that you would set it up. Problem is that Azir shouldn't make this straightforward. Azir should just get crash off and recall. So you're looking to trade basically around 4 minutes. The biggest thing that I see is just not being able to play Kalista, and then you're playing Kalista into Azir. Braum. But your skirmish potential should come from rel Kalista rotations. Ghost Kalista can be legit, but then you are also still just not punishing because they're not walking up on the wave, right? Because Jinx Braum can just chill and then not walk up on the wave and farm under tower. And know that they can't get dope because they'll be full HP, and enemy team has Kassadin and Diana jungle. So you're just playing for roam timers on rel at that point. Which is basically how Europe is playing Kalista, is just for support roam timers. Oh, come on, YouTube. Don't be this way. YouTube. YouTube. Thank you. So we're gonna look for the standard timers early game. Basically, there's not, like we said, probably the best option they have is for rel to roam to try to, off of first bot crash, to try to get a recall timer for Kassadin. You can get bot wave though, and go mid with rel, because rel will roam first. Also, I would say Diana's skirmishing post 3 isn't too bad. But you're not gonna play mid 2v2 with Diana Kassadin most likely. What happened on the bot wave level 1? They just aren't starting in lane, I guess. They unironically leash. Okay, whatever. Why would they leash though? This is the thing I don't get. Like, there's no benefit to leashing or Diana pathing up. You're not achieving anything. Like, they shouldn't leash. That's the problem. No, they legit have no angles. Yeah, I want to path up to where I don't have prio because Renekton Kennen lane and have my camps completely denied. Seems good. Logic. Sound logic from DK this game. You can at least like contest bot, especially just because Kalista is such like a strong modifier. She just runs at you in 1v2 even versus like Braum. Braum is like really annoying on first wave, but if you're building wave as Kalista because you're starting in lane, then Braum can't really threaten you with Q. There we go. Making some kind of effort bot because we got all of our top camps denied. So yeah, this is more of a bad bot, but I wanted to see a Guma UC Jinx game, I guess. Alright, so this game sucks. The one positive is that there's not like a lot of hard CC versus Kassadin. And I feel like they're not playing to punish the cast too much. There's another rotation here. This game suck a lot. I mean, it's not like there are no options for DK right now anymore. Like, the thing is that you're still playing Kassadin versus relatively low CC. Rel can still get timer spot in this game. Now Diana can actually fight. Kassadin's at the point where it can maybe a 1v1. It's not like T1 is amazingly punishing everything. Close to soul scales. Okay. This is one of those where it's like if T1 actually punishes properly, then yeah, it should be kind of doomed from draft, but they're doing fuck all, so. This is weird. So there's still technically like a Kassadin Diana 1v9 angle in this game. So you can play Kassadin through side and one-shot pretty much anyone backline. There's not a lot except for Braum to stop it. That's what I'm saying, though. When was the last? That's what I'm saying, though. Like, this game is only completely unplayable if you think T1's gonna punish. Because it's not like they have no options mid-game. Like, they have winning Kassadin side lane, they have decent engage for flanks. One-shot potential. Kalista's not going to do anything. Main thing is going to be zoning the Kennen. Like, this Kennen can wreck this comp because everyone wants to dive in. But then Kennen is getting, like, early kills here, so kind of blows. Alright. I wanted to see a Teddy game, but... Let's do... this one. Because it's Ashe, you got volatile top matchup. You think T1 plays better with Guma? Really? The one Teddy game that I saw, I felt like it was pretty much the same. But we'll see. I feel like this is one where I'm gonna have to do more VOD review off stream though. No, I guess my question is more, you think that T1 plays better, like significantly better with Gumayusi? Because I felt like it was about the same in terms of how they played. They still had the same mid-game tendencies. I'd say if anything, what I noticed is that Gumayusi does better when you abandon him to get mid-prio solo than Teddy. I think that's like the one thing that I would maybe make a snap judgment on. I watched some of the Genji series, but not this one. That's why I specifically picked this one. Because I watched some other Genji games, but I didn't watch this one yet. So I specifically picked this one. So my immediate thought because now we can start contextualizing these teams with how we think they'll do in the group stage. Because we had the group draw yesterday. My immediate thought is that we're going to see EDG stack up relatively well, because it looks like they're making a lot of rotation plays for mid. I feel like a lot of teams do that though, like early via support, and then they don't really abuse what I think is the easiest thing to fuck with on EDG, which is top. And EDG, when they play well naturally, draft for Bob Prio so they can get for a support roam. Which seems like kind of similar to T1. I think where T1 can have an advantage versus EDG would be EDG have to fight you. Like, they can't not fight. It's a compulsion, and I think it kind of functions through Scout, where he just will skirmish regardless of what champ he's on. So if, like, the early game fights go wrong, like, I can see a flip universe where T1 just wins, because I would say that EDG might have slightly better process for setting up objectives, but they're not, like, the most insane, right? So it's not like they're gonna punish T1's tendency to just, like, face check objectives and play front to back on mid-wave. As for 100 Thieves, I can see 100 Thieves at least taking a game off of T1. At least. I think it's possible. T1 look actually, just okay. I will say I think their mid-game rotations are better than Genji and HLE by a lot, so they're still really weird. Like, I don't know. Okay, Rascal set up top. Huge stack top wave. No attempt to play around it despite having mid prio and ganking jungler, but all good. Hard to dive Kana, so that's fine. Hard to dive Gwen post level 3. But you could have set up for early, maybe? Also has Ignite, so that's kind of annoying to deal with. I assume it's a case where like everyone wants to play with Faker or something. So Genji just getting plates. What I kind of want to do is go back. And look at top. Interesting that Set doesn't get the punish level 1. I want to see what happens. Oh, he leashed again. Why is Genji leashing on these like weird ass windows? Or why are people leashing when it makes no sense to me? Because it's not like you're gonna make anything happen bot. Bot will get natural prio, but you can also get prio through top with Genji here, and I think you're way more likely to have a map play on top side. Oh, it's also Ashe. I was thinking Thresh versus Leona, but it's also Ashe, so prio is not even straightforward to get for like Philos versus Ashe. Though I think you should. Like, I think support matchup should matter more. Like, Life should be playing this lane more aggro, be willing to trade for carry as Aftershock. And most people would pick T1 because they want to play with Faker, right? That would be the... And when you're recruiting for Academy, a lot of players, I don't know if this is true in LCK, but it's definitely true of NA, is like assume that they get to quote-unquote learn from the starting player on the LCS, and that's not happening, my dude. So you also can get like decent mids going to LCK teams for that. My dreams of learning processing anonymous child by joining CLG Academy or what? Okay, back to where we were. So even if Set doesn't have timer here, right? This is a situation where, okay, Ryze can start to get prio tier stacking. Set can even be looking for shifts off of versus Gwen just because it is hard to dive Gwen post level 3. And hovering mids, so I think it's a wave in, or we're setting up a dive angle mid, or anything like that, right? Right now, I think he just wants to get wave in because he knows his jungle is... I mean, you could probably reason on this window that your jungles are like about same time. So he was willing to posture up a little bit more aggro. There's no way that guy can be worse than Morgan, right? So let's once more look at the approach to rotating for this rift. So you live, basically I've seen bot laners do this more and more for rift, which is like, okay, if this guy crashes even wave, we're just fine to leave wave stay even on double cannon and rotate for rift. Because it'll take longer to push out. I think in the case of Ashe versus Aphelios, though, you shouldn't really leave the wave. Ashe feels pressured to slow push here because she knows her support is roaming mid, and Thresh should also technically match mid, but you don't want to push in case Thresh goes bot. Like, if you push too much, Thresh for sure goes bot. Leona is fine. So I like that Carrie is like kind of willing to give this up, but it would be nice if Carrie could get 6 before rotating for this, especially since Genji already have positional advantage from having set. Yeah, and now we're face checking into Aphelios. So, whatever. It's a case where since camps were coming up bot, Aphelios and Thresh rotated and zoned anyway. So why are we face checking here when we could just be pushing out bot? Zane could be doing his bot camps. It's whatever. It's fine. It's not like EDG don't do dumb shit like this either, right? If we're just talking theoretically about that matchup. I would say probably 100 Thieves would play like a Rift setup better, but they would probably be worse mid-game, so that's fine. And I think maybe only bot laning is better. Based on what I've seen so far for 100 Thieves. Okay. I think this is a really similar scenario to one that I've seen before that I like to use for EU when I talk about like map, when I talk about trade plays and when you're making kind of aggressive invades. So first of all, wave not in all the way. When we're playing for this, so T1 can rotate first without losing as much and immediately look for one shot. Second, mid has been winning, so mid also, does mid have ulti? Let me see. Yeah, mid had ulti here too. So even if Zoe gets the wave, it's really easy to just like basically two EQ combos kill backline, and the wave is pushing to him anyway. Zoe didn't fully crash, and then they went for this invade. Before camps even were fully up, so that's kind of weird. It's a Genji decision. Yes, he did tweet that he got his visa. This seems like a... So I feel like that's really bad. This is just really bad. This is just a goddamn disaster. So T1 make this play bot, and we don't get to see what the map looks like after. But Ash is recalling and pushing back out. Zin did his bot camps and is going top, so once again, you sort of have to try to match whoever has the rift, and reasonably speaking, you'll use it bottom on Aphelios. Especially with the plates in the state that they were. So this snowball for Aphelios is really bad. Like, Ruler being this ahead is pretty bad, because your team comp has 1 short range character and 3 melees. So Aphelios has a pretty good time here. I think I'll hard stop at 720. So I like the fact that T1 were ahead on the swap, because they know there's no way Genji will go back bot. Like, they want to just keep accelerating the amount of plates on Aphelios. And then they're able to overload that side. They, because of the waves, they can have a really big timer if they get bot wave in first. And we're grabbing Rift Herald. So the goal for this Rift Herald should be to push out either bot or top all the way, and then after shifting on Siege, because Ashe... I don't think Ashe gets mid prio anymore. Oh wait, she just finished Shield Bow. Jungle is pretty ahead for Genji though. I think the jungle matchup is not great right now for T1. So, push out bottom of the way, look to siege turret by rotating into that side, and drop for T2. Kenvi also had visa issues, so no, they were not scrimming without closer. Unless they had an EU fill. Contracts is still in LA right now. Overload top side. They probably were scrimming with a fill player. Alright, well. Okay, I think I'm gonna stop for today, especially since I'm not really focusing. But, my main takeaway for T1 is that I think they default to back in part because their main default play is like rotating for objective effectively on spawn. So like they don't have a lot of forethought before they move for a neutral fight, and so for that they'll probably default to having like front to back be their most successful comp. I think despite the fact that they have a huge preference for ranged top laners, they don't play around top very well. So I'll probably watch more Teddy VODs to see if they play better on bot with Teddy, because based on their drafts, that's what it looks like. But, and then they had not really any bot plays this game around Teddy. I don't know, this game they kind of didn't do a whole lot of insane things. They rotated late for Dragon, and somehow after winning bot fight they didn't manage to get enough of a timer to actually, let's look at that again real fast. I forget exactly what happened. So they countered the bot invade. Oh, me being optimistic thinking it would have been this early. Okay, here we go. They countered the bot invade, and then what happened at a base? Oh, they lost like 2 turrets and a shit ton of gold on Aphelios because they didn't match Reptile drop. I think this is probably why there's like scaling bot escalation in T1's games, just because they leave huge openings when enemy team has Rift and can use it on bot side with scaling carries. That would make some sense to me. If plays like this, which we've seen happen like twice in these games, are happening, then that makes sense why there's so much emphasis on like Ophelia strengths in their drafts. Yeah, so everyone, thanks for coming by. Thanks to Chronicler for the raid and all of the new follows. Shiriyusa, Twitter Hanalist, Dogcat852, XMigan13, Milwaukee, The Typhoon, EA Cyberpunk110, Kuz Gabor, Reconstruction Site, and Oninfinity. A lot of new faces and people active in chat, so I appreciate it a lot. Alright. Yeah, I look forward to the List Mania. What is tomorrow that I have on my schedule? I think I had PSG Talon tomorrow. So I'll see if I can get that. I don't have a guest lined up for that, so I'll see if I can get one short notice. But yeah, I don't know. My guest today kind of ghosted me. I think I just forgot to remind him, so he didn't show up. That will happen, but have a good day, everyone.